Hello and welcome to Senior Solutions, where we bring you topics affecting seniors and their loved ones. I'm your host, Mindy Felinton, and I'm joined today by Tracy Niro, who's the owner and managing partner of Wise Moves, and also Erin Martinko, who is the managing director. And thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting us.
And we're really going to learn all about senior moves and life in transition moves, and I'm eager to find out about how that differs from traditional movers. And I guess a great starting place might be to talk about how you got involved in this particular specialty, really, in the moving industry.
So years ago, about 10 or 12 years ago, I used to do public estate sales where there was the entire contents of a home for sale. And we managed those sales and really enjoyed it, but we found common denominators. First and foremost, that most of our clients were seniors. And secondly, that they were downsizing and likely moving and transitioning into smaller apartments or a different lifestyle. And so, you know, most of your estate sale companies will do the sale and then pack up and leave once the sale is over. But we found an opportunity to help them with other needs. They had far more needs than just the sale. The liquidation, as we call it in the industry, was an option or an alternative for them to get rid of the excess items that they had, but didn't always, work that way for them. There were usually things left over. So we started coordinating with donations. We helped them to start packing for their moves, coordinating the moves, and even unpacking and putting things away. So we found ourselves merging into a new industry at the time called senior move management.
Great. And Erin, how did you become involved in this particular type of specialty?
Well, prior to joining Tracy at Wise Moves, I spent over 20 years working in the senior housing industry. I had roles in social work and marketing and admissions, and I was referring business to Tracy, and that's how she and I met. So I had been, working with families in transition for over 20 years and decided I wanted to do something a little different. I had met Tracy, we really hit it off, and I decided to take the leap. I wanted to do something, creative and active, but still use my skill set. So we have a very complementary skill set and have been able to really grow the business and help a lot of people in transition. I certainly saw the benefit of having a senior move manager involved when I was working with incoming residents in retirement communities. I saw it relieve a lot of the stress on families and our incoming residents.
Well, that being said, can you give some examples of those situations and benefits that you experienced?
Well, certainly. So if I would get a call from an incoming resident or their family member saying, oh my goodness, I really want to do this, but I'm so overwhelmed. I have a house full of belongings. I don't know, where to start. Or the adult child is telling me, how stressed out the parent is. So my go-to referral in that case was for senior move management, because senior move managers really help people and help their clients and the families with the physical and the emotional and the organizational aspects of a move like this. These moves can be complex. They are really unlike any other move that the client has ever made.
Which, are, of course, are stressful in and of themselves under the best of circumstances.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, moving is a very, very stressful thing. So senior move managers are able to come in and with a plan and really organize the whole process and help people with the downsizing. I think that is one of their major their major concerns.
So can you speak to what is the plan? Like where do we start? I know where we end up, but kind of what's the process that you all implement when you're helping a senior?
So generally speaking, we have more or less a hierarchy of steps that we look at. First and foremost, the client's needs, where they're moving to, what would be appropriate for them to take with them, what to do with the remaining contents. We can design a floor plan of their new place, and that really lays a groundwork for them a visual to see what is going to work in their new place. But then from there, we look at family members. You know, are there items that the family wants? And even friends. And then after that, we look at perhaps there's things of value. As a professional liquidator, we have resources of selling items. And then we consider donation. You know, what's appropriate for donation. And one of the things that does make us unique in this industry is the liquidation background, because the very first thing they ask us is, how do I know what's marketable and what isn't marketable? So we can explain that to them just in walking through the home. So then in helping with donation, we partner with Habitat for Humanity Restore, and we donate to them frequently. And that seems to be a very popular charitable item or charity. And if the client has a charity that they want to support, we can help with that. After that category, we have trash removal. Every home has trash. In fact, the average 4-bedroom home can have as much as, traditional 4-bedroom home can have as much as 3,000 pounds of trash. So we have, we provide a mechanism to sort through and to remove the trash removal, the shredding, and the recycling. So during this process, though, we are packing for them and also coordinating the move plan and setting up a plan for the unpack and where things go in their new home. When we do the floor plan, we very often will go to their new home. We will look at the storage space that they have. We will look at the kitchen, the capacity of that, how many drawers they have and cabinets, so that they know what really is going to fit. So we are mindfully packing with the unpack in mind.
Great. Well,
Okay.
that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
And how do you structure your pricing when you're working with families?
We charge on an hourly basis. We find that we can typically work within anyone's budget, really, depending on how much support they really need. You can utilize our services for the full scope of that we can provide, or any portion of that they need help with. If they do have adult children that are helping them sort through things, and you know, that's very helpful. It's a personal process, and we can provide that support, but family may be participating. So we charge on an hourly basis.
Okay, great. And I would imagine, as you were describing the level of trash in one's house, that you've probably come across hoarding situations and have had to deal with that, where there's probably a lot more than 3,000 pounds.
Yes, and it's a very personal process. Moving and having someone come in, you know, to support in the sorting and going through things is a very personal process, and we certainly recognize that. Hoarding is more complicated in that, you know, we find that they may have experienced a tragedy. It often is a mental and extremely emotional situation. But we do work with hoarding, and Erin does have some social background, social work background, and you know, we do a lot of hand holding, you might say.
Sure.
We do.
Yeah.
We've worked, we get referrals from geriatric care managers when they have clients who have hoarding behaviors. So we can We can help clear out the home, and it's great that they also have the support of a mental health professional, because it is, as Tracy said, it is a mental health situation. So we recognize that. But they can be very challenging.
Yeah, and I would think, I mean, I hear so frequently about people who are hoarding. It is just amazing how much there is out there in the world. So what is a typical client? What would they look like for you?
Well, a typical client, I think many of our clients have, let's say, been in their home between maybe 30 and 50 years. It's oftentimes the family home where their children have been raised. They have actually probably expanded into every nook and cranny of their home. They have excess belongings in, you know, the spare bedroom closet and the attic and the basement.
Oh yeah, that basement.
Right, the
bottomless
shed.
pit.
Right. They may be warehousing belongings of their adult children. They may not only be dealing with their own belongings, but they may have belongings in their attic that they have inherited from well-intentioned ancestors. So we try to give them permission to let go of those things. But typically, our clients have been in their homes for a long time, and they're facing a move. Either, you know, maybe there's some precipitating factor that's driving it. Perhaps they are beginning to experience some medical issues or mobility issues. They can no longer manage the stairs. They shouldn't be hauling laundry and laundry baskets down to the basement any longer. So they may be experiencing some cognitive issues, or it may be a couple where, you know, one person is beginning to experience some cognitive issues and the others are not. The other is not. So there could be something like that driving it, or they could be just wanting to, you know, get out from under the home maintenance issues. So those are our typical clients. They are downsizing out of a home that they've lived in for many years.
All right, great. Well, you know, I think what I'd like to do is, after we take our short break, we'll come back and talk about maybe some exciting cases, you know, great things found or things like that. So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Welcome back to Senior Solutions, where we bring you topics affecting seniors and their loved ones. And I'm your host, Mindy Felinton, and I'm joined again by Tracy Niro and Erin Martinko with Wise Moves. And thank you again for being here. I really find all my shows, for me, to be so informative and helpful. So let's kind of start out with some of your more exciting clients you've worked with, what made them maybe fun or a little different. Could you give us some examples?
Well, we have worked with some amazing people, and working here in the Washington, D.C. area, we have dealt with some really fascinating and very accomplished individuals. And at one point, we've worked with one of the founding spies of the CIA back before it was the CIA. So that was a very, very interesting client that we worked with.
Just to interrupt you for a moment, without obviously telling
right,
you know, but what were some of the things that he or she had that?
And it was a she.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was interesting in itself.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I can tell you that we did have to wait. We were not allowed to enter one room until some officials came and inspected what was there.
Interesting.
So, but all of these people have very interesting, you know, artifacts that they've collected, you know, throughout the world. So,
yeah.
Our people are very fascinating. Books that they've written, people that they have known, and to listen to their stories is just a fascinating part of what we do.
Yeah, well, you probably could write a book, right? Both of you.
We probably
Yes.
have talked about it.
We have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So-
And we've found some very, when you're combing through people's homes, you find some very interesting things. We were able to, in one particular home, the lady who we were working with had lost the diamond out of her ring. And I think it had been missing for quite some time, and she had mentioned it to us. So we, as we were working through the home, on the very last day, I think the moving truck was there. We were still, going through, and one of our staff people were emptying the bread drawer, and they saw a little glint of something, and it was that diamond.
Oh, wow.
And we were
I have
able.
goosebumps.
I
On
know.
Move Day.
Oh, everybody was crying. We were able to, give her the diamond out of her engagement ring, and she was so very grateful for that.
Right.
Yeah, that had to be a really emotional experience, I
It
would
was.
think.
It was.
Because I have goosebumps, and
Yeah.
I'm away from that situation. So that's a
Often-
beautiful story.
Oftentimes when we find things that they've been missing, it gives them sort of a sense of completion, that it's okay now.
Yeah.
I think she
Right.
really felt that when we found it.
Right.
We've also worked in, you had mentioned earlier, hoarding situations. And this past year we had worked in a home that was very, very dense. And the family, the adult children, had worked through the home for a year. And they were at a point at which they really needed someone to come in and, essentially remove the remaining contents. And so they felt confident that they had found everything that they were looking for, and they had actually accumulated what you would consider a pile of trash in one of the bedrooms. And we were sorting through it. We do everything so carefully with a watchful eye. And there was a bag, just a paper bag, and we felt that there was something inside of it. And when we looked, there was $17,000 in there. And
Cash.
Nice trash.
Nice trash. And this is
Wow.
something that the family had sorted through. So I remember one time we had a client that we couldn't find their car title, and unfortunately the woman had passed. And we were working with the family, and they really needed that, and we found it in the refrigerator in a can. I mean, there's just unusual things. We don't leave anything unturned.
So it seems. Who would think?
Right.
I know.
You have to be very thorough and looking through old purses, and people hide things, especially of that generation.
Right, right.
Right.
Under the mattress, but may not be under the mattress. but
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember my dad's parents were notorious for doing that.
Right. Putting money in books, things like that. You have to be very thorough.
It's interesting. There's a lot of common denominators, but there's always something unique in each home.
Yeah.
Well,
What are some of the common denominators that you find?
Well, we do find that they very often have jewelry, in specific areas, and we caution them to, maybe take their jewelry and put it in a safety deposit box. We have some moving tips for their consideration.
Can you share those with us?
Sure.
Sure. So, moving tips. That is one thing that we work through with them. Certainly, on moving, we have them keep their jewelry with them and any important papers. And we have a checklist that goes through and advises them to contact particular utilities and things like that so they can get set up in their new place.
One of the most helpful tips that we provide is that we suggest they have a suitcase for, prepared for move day, that has their essentials, their medications, their checkbook, their, clothing for that evening or perhaps a few more days, maybe important documents if they went to settlement on their new place, that this is a go-to convenient location, and it's something that we encourage them to do even a few days before the move. Also, we usually have a car box, a box that has maybe the phone that they need, that we have to hook that up right away. Certain things, that they must have. If they have a small pet, a cat or a dog, the essentials in that box. But there's always things that come up that are important to them, that maybe it'll travel with them in their car, or we'll put it in our car so that we know firsthand where it is when we get to the new place.
Like their pillow.
Yeah, their favorite things, essential things.
So I interrupted you. I'm sorry for that.
Okay.
But you were starting to talk about some of the common denominators, and I segued you into the checklist.
I think the most common denominator is that they're overwhelmed.
Yes.
There's an overabundance of things. I did a presentation at a retirement community about downsizing, and I had one of the women in the audience raise her hand and say, I'm sitting here listening, and all I can think about is that I have a 17-room home. And I thought, wow, that's a pretty big house, And she said, I don't know where to start. How can I possibly downsize to a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment? And I said, well, let's talk about your 17 rooms. And here, what I realized was that she was accounting for every bathroom, the laundry room, the garage, every bedroom, the storage room, all the different rooms, and which was intelligent because she knew that everything in those rooms needed to be handled and dealt with, decided on. But when you think about moving into a smaller apartment, you need to think about your daily lifestyle. Oftentimes we find that our clients use 3 rooms in a large home. They use their kitchen, they use their master bedroom, and they have a more intimate nest, as we call it, in, a TV room with den, sort of their command central around maybe a reclining chair. And so when we get them to realize that these are the important things you're going to take with you in terms of the lifestyle and setting up the floor plan, the rest of it becomes a little bit easier to make decisions on.
Well, I would imagine, and certainly from what you do, that people find it probably the challenge for them, and I guess we'll talk about what those challenges are, but to disconnect from the attachment that they have to their stuff.
Yes, I think that's one of their biggest challenges is managing, and one of our big challenges is helping them manage that process. I mean, we spend our lives building up, we're raising families, we're building homes, we're building careers, but this is different. This is a letting go, and it's a very emotional process. So it's helpful to have the help of a third-party professional to kind of guide them through that process and ask the questions, and honor their memories because the process is really just as important as the outcome here for our clients, because it is a letting go, and it is an important process to go through, and it honors their memories and the memories associated with these things that we are going through. And often, once a person gives voice to that, they are able, at that point, then to let go.
Interesting.
And one of our favorite things about doing this, one of our favorite moments, is when we have begun to see them gain some momentum. They've started letting go, and at first it's just kind of difficult. It's tough, and then they are able to really gain some momentum and they get better at it, and we see them get this feeling of liberation almost.
Yeah, cathartic
It is.
Right.
experience.
It's a wonderful thing to observe.
Yeah. And I guess your background also, Erin, particularly the social work aspect, is one that lends itself to really fostering that conversation with them
Yes,
as well.
yes. Empathy is very important, and you know, we have people that work with us and that that work for us that we send out into people's homes, and we definitely look for people who have what I call a lot of emotional intelligence, who have a lot of empathy and can really understand and get a feel for what's going on in the room, so to speak, and who have an understanding and a heart for this kind of work, because it's not for everybody. It's a challenging thing to do.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart. Right. It's
Yes.
messy. Life is messy sometimes, and
Yeah.
it's can be the feelings associated with this can be complex.
Sure.
And oftentimes there might be adult children involved. And there are dynamics there where sometimes it is more difficult to have the family members, you know, participating. It's important that they do have the physical support and the emotional support, but they need to have the right to make the decisions that they're making and, you know, have the family support those decisions.
And the role reversal. The role
Yes.
reversal can sometimes be a challenge to navigate. So again, it is helpful to have a third-party professional in the room, kind of as a buffer in those situations.
Well, this was so helpful and very informative. Thank you both for being here. And if somebody would like to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Well, they can call either Tracy or myself. My number is 301-706-3570.
Okay.
We also have a website, wisemoves.net, so you're welcome to go on our website to find out more information about us. And Tracy also has a phone number.
240-463-6433.
All right, wonderful. Well,
Yes.
again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if you have a topic you would like to see on Senior Solutions, please feel free to email me at seniorsolutions@mmctv.org. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.